So in the previous sessions, we have discussed about and we have revised the topics on Unit 1 and Unit 2. So in the Unit 1, we come across the few things, program structure in Java. That means we have discussed the tokens. So in the previous sessions, we have discussed about the elements of Java. That means tokens of Java. So what exactly a Java program consists of? Then we have seen the command line arguments. And then we have seen the data types, primitive data types as well as non-primitive data types. And then we have seen the available operators in Java. And then we have seen the control statements. We have three types of control statements. First one is selection statements. Second one is iteration statements. Third one is jump statements. So selection statements means if statements as well as switch statements. Iterative statements means for loop, while loop, do while loop. As well as here the new concept is for each loop. So we have seen the syntax of for each loop and the purpose. And then we have seen the jump statements, break and continue. So this is all about the first unit. So these are the most basic things in any programming language: operators, data types, variables, elements, tokens, and then control statements. Most of the programming languages has these features, has these properties. Then so this is the first unit. Then we have come to the unit 2. So unit 2 consists of classes, objects as well as methods. Classes, objects and methods. So we have seen the declaration of each and everything, declaration of a class, declaration of the object, so declaration of the methods. We have seen the syntaxes for all these things. So how can you declare a class? Class modifiers, space, class, space, class identifier. So how do you declare a class? We have verified the syntax as well as object. Class name space, object name is equal to new space, class name. We have seen the syntax and methods. So method means we can identify the method as parenthesis, open parenthesis and closed parenthesis. We have seen the syntax, modifier space, method name, braces. Within the braces we have the parameters and the flower braces within the body, that is the body of the method. We can write the logic in the method. So these classes and objects as well as methods are essential for writing a Java program or any object-oriented programming language. So here the main concept is objects. So in any object-oriented programming language, each and every class member is accessed by using the object. So there is a difference between variable and object. Don't treat a variable as object. So both are different. Variables and objects are different. So variables are the class members, attributes. Variables means attributes, class members. Then methods. Variables and methods are called as class members. So these class members are accessed through the object. By creating the object only, we can access the class members. Either it may be variable or a method. So this is all about the classes and objects. We have set the constructor also. We have defined the constructor. So the main purpose of constructor is to initialize the variables. For initialization purpose, we can use the constructor. So class name and constructor name are same. We have seen the overloading, constructor overloading as well as method overloading. And then we have seen the nested classes. So the class consists of another class. The class within the class is called nested classes. Then we have come to the methods. We have seen the declaration of the methods as well as we have seen the overloaded constructor methods and then recursion. So in this methods, we have seen the recursion. Recursion means the process of calling the method itself by number of times is called recursion. So I'll say same C language, C++, we have come across these recursive functions. So the main example is factorial and Fibonacci series. Factorial and Fibonacci series are example for recursion. We can implement the factorial of a number by using the recursion very easily. So this is all about the second unit, and then we have seen the some keywords, final keyword at static keyword. So if you declare the variable or class or method as final means there is no modifications allowed on that uh, attribute. That is final. Static means if you declare the any class member as static means we can access that members without creation of the object. Without creation of the object. That's why we have included the public static void main. Static. So this is all about the second unit. So in the first unit, we have seen the data types, operators, control statements. In the second unit, we have seen the classes, objects, and methods. So in the third unit, we are going to see the arrays, inheritance, as well as interfaces. Arrays, inheritance, and interfaces. So up to interfaces, we have discussed. We have explained up to interfaces. So first mid up to interfaces. The syllabus is up to interfaces, 2.5 units. So interfaces will discuss in the coming sessions. So let us see arrays and interfaces. So in arrays we have same. So as mentioned in the classes, objects, and methods, first we will see the declaration of array. What is the syntax for declaration of array. So that we will see first, and then we will see the memory storage in the computer memory, how the array can store in a computer memory, and then we have seen the sorting of arrays. We have seen the sorting of arrays. That means sorting. We have seen the bubble sort, selection sort, insertion sort, and then quick sort. So these are the some techniques used in this sorting. So already in data structures and discrete mathematics, these sorting techniques will come. Already in the previous semester we have studied those things. And then we have seen the two-dimensional arrays as well as three-dimensional arrays. So this is all about the arrays. We will check the one by one. So slides open here. So let us check the syntax of an array. So this is the syntax of an array. So you can declare the array as this array type and array identifier. That means, see the examples. Array type is int, array name is numbers. So each and array has some subscript. We can mention the size within this square braces. So each and every array is identified by the square braces. So this reflects the size of an array. And then type is char, array name is name, and some subscript. Type is float, where array name is price list. So like that we can declare the variable. So here we have not initialized the variables. That means we are not given any values to the variables. Just we have declared. That means, so if you want to declare any variable means you can declare like this, int x. So this is the declaration of variable. So if you want to declare the array means int x within the braces, within the square braces. So this is the difference between variable and array. Variable and array. So in the variable means only a single value will be stored in the variable. But whereas in the array, we can store the array of elements. That means n number of elements can be stored in the array. So to reflect that, we can use the subscript. We can use the subscript. In general variable, it don't has any subscripts. Why? Because it has only one element to store. But in the array, we can store multiple elements. We can store n number of elements. Based upon the size, we can store 5 elements, 10 elements, any number of elements. That's why we are giving the subscript here. To differentiate the normal variable and array, we can use the subscript, square braces. So this is the declaration of an array. Next one, initialization of array. How you can initialize the values to the array. So in general, suppose if it is a variable, we can initialize the variable as x equal to 10. X equal to 10. So this is the normal initialization of a variable. So in array means array x square braces is equal to within the square braces, we can give the values 22, 33, 44, 55. So this is the initialization of array. So this is the initialization of array. So here we have only one element. In general variable, we have only one element. Whereas in the array, we have 5 elements. 5 elements we can initialize within the flower braces, within the block. We can call this as block. Within the block, we can initialize the values. First element is 22. Second element is 33. Third element is 44. Fifth element is 55. Like that, we can initialize the variables in an array. So this is the declaration and initialization of a variable. So next one. So we can have this subscript either before the identifier or after the identifier. That means we can have the we can declare the array as like this, int subscript x, like this, or we can have the array like this, int x array. So the subscript, that means size of an array can be before the array name or the after the array name. Before the array name or after the array name, we can follow any of this syntax. And then we can see this one. If you are going to declare the array, 3 arrays of the same type, we can use the comma operator to separate that. That means we are going to declare the 3 arrays: numbers, items, guns. These 3 things are arrays. We are going to declare these 3 arrays. So there is no need to give the int 3 subscripts here. Single subscript is enough. That means we are going to declare the arrays of type int. Of the type int, numbers array 1, items array 2, guns array 3. So all these can be treated as arrays only. So next one, there is another type of initialization of an arrays. Let us see this one. So this is the actual syntax of initialization of an array. So by using the new operator, we can initialize the array. So int numbers is equal to new. We are using the new operator, and then type size. So this is the declaration of an array by using the new operator. That means if you declare an array means we need some space. So by using the new operator, if you use the new operator means automatically the memory is allocated for the array. So if you don't declare by using the new operator means some compilation warning or error will come. So in order to avoid that one, so this is the best way to declare an array. New int. So initialization, we can initialize the array members by using Same syntax. Int numbers is equal to 20, 10, 30, 50. Or we can give these values in this declaration statement itself. That is int x is equal to new int size is 4, and then within the space, within the square braces, we can give the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the declaration as well as initialization of an array. So this is the declaration as well as initialization of an array by using the new operator. By using the new operator, we can declare as well as initialize in a single line. So without new operator, we can initialize the variable as like this. Int x equal to 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the another way of initialization of array. So both the syntaxes can be followed, but the this one is very best way to implement the declare or initialize the array. So this is all about array declaration and array initialization. So same will be followed to 2-dimensional arrays as well as 3-dimensional arrays. So accessing the elements of an array. So how you can access the elements of an array? How you can print the array elements? So you have given the array elements are 2, 3, 4, 5. How can you print that array? So in order to print the array, we need a for loop. We need a for loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than 5, I less than 5, I plus plus. Within that, we can have the system.out.println that array name. So let us see that. So this is the syntax for accessing the array element or printing the array elements. For I is equal to 0, I less than array length I plus plus system.out.println x, printing the array x. So we can use the for each loop to print the array. So by using the for loop, we can initialize the array. We can initialize the array as well as access the array. We can print the array. So by using the for each loop, we can simply access the array. So let us see that one. So this is the syntax to access the array. Single line we can have access to the array by using the for loop for each loop. So for each loop for int x, for each value of x of numbers, array name is numbers. Here array name is numbers. So each number will be printed by using the variable x. By using the variable x, the loop will be repeated up to the end of the array. Numbers. So here numbers is the array name. Numbers is the array name. We can print the array by using the some temporary variable x. That's why we are giving the int x. We are printing the x value. X value for numbers of 0. Suppose the array size is, array is numbers. Here the array is numbers. Int numbers. So the array is int numbers is equal to within the braces 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the array. So now we are going to print this array 2, 3, 4, 5. How you will print? By using the for each loop. So by using the for each loop, we can print the array. So this is the syntax to print the any array. For int x, array name, we have to give the array name or collection name here, and then in the printf, we will print the x value. We will print the x value. For first iteration, x value is 2. In the second iteration, x value is 3. In the third iteration, x value is 4. In the fourth iteration, x value is 5. So the loop will be repeated 4 times. See, here we are not giving the termination condition here. Here we are not giving the termination condition, increment or decrementation. Nothing will be initialized here. Just we are giving the for each loop. We are using the for each loop. We are declaring a variable and then we are giving the array name and then body. This is the body of the for loop. So this is the advantages of for each loop. We can have the for each loop, nested for each loop. In the 2 dimension, we need 2 for loops. In the 3 dimensional array, we need 3 for loops. So likewise, we can have the 2 for each loops for 2 dimensional, 3 for each loops for 3 dimensional arrays. So next one, some examples. Next arrays strings. So what is this? What is this one? Can anyone explain this line? Third line. Anyone explain this line? So in general, we have 4 types of data types: integer type data type, floating type data type, Boolean data type, as well as character data type. So we don't have the string data type. We don't have the string data type. So string is a non-primitive data type. String is a non-primitive data type. That means non-primitive means if it may be either class name or either it may be interface name. We can use the class name or interface name as data type. Then those will be named as non-primitive data type. String is a non-primitive data type. So string is a class. String is a class in the package util. In the util package, we have so many predefined classes. So likewise, string is a predefined class. So we are using the string class here. So string is a data type. So string is a non-primitive data type. We are declaring the arrays array1, array2 as type string. So string means we have to include the double quotes. Char means single quotes. Char means single quotes. String means we have to give the double quotes. Same for integers, the way you have declared the arrays, same will be followed in the strings also. So operations on array, that means any addition, subtraction, all the operations can be allowed in the arrays. So we can pass the arrays as methods. That means, so general in general we can pass the parameters as some elements, int a, int b, int c. So we can pass the array itself. So this is the array1. So array1 is in general what we how you can pass the parameters. Let us see this. Suppose the method name is display. So display is the method. In general, if you have the variables means int a comma, int a comma, int a comma, int b, like that we can pass the parameters. So we can pass the parameters by using the array also. So here the array name is, suppose if you take the array name as x means, you can pass the parameter as array. So here x is an array. That means here x is an array. So int x is equal to 33, 44, 55, 66. So this is an array. So this is an array. So here I am passing the parameter array. This is not a variable. So this is the array. We are passing the array. So we can pass the array also. Passing the parameters through the method, we can pass the array itself. So this can be possible in Java. Then So assigning one array to array, that means array 2 is equal to array 1. That is a simple one. Then sorting of an arrays. So bubble sort, selection sort, and quick sort. So we have the predefined method for quick sort. We have the predefined method for quick sort. So that method name is sort. SORT, sort. We have the predefined method for sort. So we have discussed the how the bubble sort will be done, selection sort as well as insertion sort. So all the things are already explained in previous semester. Bubble sort, selection sort, and insertion sort, and then searching techniques, and then we come across the searching, sortings and searchings. So in the searching, we have two types of searching techniques. First one, linear search. Second one is binary search. So searching means we have to find out the element which is required, which is whenever required. So this is also explained, binary search. And then class arrays. That means we have the predefined class arrays. So in the util package, we have a class called arrays. We have a predefined class arrays. So in this predefined class arrays, so if you define the class means it has some predefined methods. Arrays is a class. It has some predefined methods. So let us see which are the methods available in class array. We can directly use the methods. We can directly use those methods by using the object of type arrays. So these are the methods, predefined methods available in class array. Sort is a method to sort the array of elements. So likewise, we have so many methods. And then we have for searching purpose, we have the binary search. So here method name is binary search. Here the method name is binary search. For sorting, we have the sort method, and then searching, we have the binary search method. So likewise, we have so many functions equals to. So to check the two arrays are equals or not, we can check we can compare by using the equals method. Array A, array B. Whether the two arrays are equal, it returns boolean true. If the two arrays are not similar, then it returns false. So likewise, we have a method. Then we have the fill method. That means we have to fill the remaining array with some values, or we can fill the array with some number. That can be possible by using the array fill method fill. By using the fill, we can enter the values in a array. After declaration, we can enter the values by using the fill method. So likewise, we have so many methods: copy of, ASLIT, toString, deep toString, hash code. Like that, we have so many methods available, predefined methods available in the under the class arrays. So next, two-dimensional arrays. So if we have the two subscripts, then it can be treated as two-dimensional array. So in the two-dimensional array, declaration is same as single-dimensional array. So this is the syntax for declaration. Int telephone number is the array name, 2 dimensions, new operator, int size is 5, 10, 5 by 10 matrix. Another example, int array name subscript. So these elements are initialized by like this within the braces. So this is the 1 dimension. So this is the 2 dimension. 3 by 2 matrix. So this is 3 by 2 matrix. 3 by 2 matrix. So generally matrices are represented by 2-dimensional arrays. So this is the declaration of 2-dimensional array. Declaration as well as initialization of array. We have to give the sizes 2, 3. That means 2 by 3. 5, 10. That means 5 by 10 matrix. 2 by 3 matrix. 2 rows, 3 columns. So like that we have three-dimensional arrays. So arrays of varying lengths. That means we can vary the array length by using this syntax. So this is the syntax. That means here we are giving the row size, but we are not giving the column size. This column size is kept empty. That means if you keep the array sizes are empty means dynamically it can allocate the some memory size. If you give the 3 means 3 memory spaces will be allocated. So if you don't give anything means uh, dynamically it can allocate the memory. So 3 by n, that means something, 3 by something. That means 3 rows, but columns or number of columns are not defined here. So here 3 rows, 1, 2, 3 rows, and columns is not defined. So first row columns are 5, 7, 8. Second row we have two columns only. Here we have 3 columns. Here we have 2 columns. Here we have 5 columns. That means we are varying the length. We are varying the length of a matrix. We are varying the length of a matrix. We are defining 3 rows. We are defining 3 rows. But first row has 3 elements. First row has 1, 2, 3 elements. Second row has only 2 elements. Fourth row has 5 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. So we can have the matrix like this also. We can have the matrix like this also. That means varying length. Column length is changed here. Here only 3 columns, 2 columns, 5 columns. So this can be possible in Java. So this is the all about the 2-dimensional as well as 3 dimensions. Means we have the 3 dimensions, three subscript values. Next one, vectors. So vectors means it is also similar to the arrays. The main difference is it can allocate the memory dynamically. So if you don't bother about the sizes of an array, then we can declare the elements as vector. So this is the syntax for vector. Vector int size, comma int increment. That means if the size is filled, if the array size is filled, if the vector size is filled means vector is full means automatically if you want to enter an element to the already filled vector, then memory is doubled. Suppose here increment value is 2 means by default the memory size is doubled. So likewise, if you want to enter into the vector, if the memory is full means already, then the memory is allocated for this element. So this is all about the vector. We can use the arrays most probably. So in some cases we can use the vectors. So we have the vector class. For arrays, we have the arrays class. For vectors, we have the vector class. So vector class also supports some methods. So these are the list of methods, predefined methods. So this is all about the arrays. So let us quickly move on to the inheritance. So let us move to the inheritance. So inheritance means we are going to inherit the properties from either variables or methods. That means we are reusing the variables or methods. That is inheritance. We are going to reuse the variables declared in the base class in the subclass. We have two types of classes here. One is base class, second one is subclass. So base class means we are going to inherit the properties from base class. Subclass means so we are reusing that variable names or method names in the subclass. So here terminology is superclass and subclass. So simply we are reusing the already given names. That is inheritance. So there are so many here. You can use the to perform inheritance. We will use the keyword extends. We will use the keywords extends. Suppose class B extends A. That means class B is the subclass. Class A is the superclass. Superclass. Class B is going to extend the properties from class A. So the variables or method declared in the class A are used by the class B. Are used by the class B. So this is the basic things in the inheritance. Syntax of the inheritance. So there are next we have the types of inheritance. We have so many types of inheritance. First one is single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance. So these three types of inheritance are supported by the Java. So multiple inheritance is not supported by the Java. So why? Because so a class can inherit only one superclass. A class can extend only one superclass. We have only one superclass in Java. So we don't have multiple superclasses. So we don't have the multiple inheritance in Java. So, but we can extend the multiple inheritance concept by using the interfaces. By using the interfaces, we can have the multiple inheritance. We can achieve the multiple inheritance to some extent. So single inheritance means single base class, single subclass. So multiple level inheritance means class A extends class B, class B extends class C, class C extends class B. That is multiple inheritance. Hierarchical inheritance means so class A class B extends class A, class B extends class A, class C extends class A, class D also extends class A. For all the subclasses, we have only one superclass, that is hierarchical inheritance. So this is the syntax for the inheritance. Next, we have the universal superclass object. So object is a predefined class. So each and every class is derived from the class object. Object is a predefined class in LAN package. So all the subclasses are derived from the universal superclass object. So it also provides some predefined methods. So access controls, public, private, protected, you know. Next, application of keyword super. Super is a keyword which is used to distinguish between the two variables. Distinguish the two variables. Distinguish the two variables. That means the variables has same name. They have to differentiate that variables. So that can be possible by using the super keyword. Super of A. Super of A. Already the variable A is used in the base class. Same thing we are going to use in the subclass. Then we can have the super A. Super of A. That means A is a variable which is already declared in the superclass. Next means constructor method. So constructors method while use if the constructor is implemented by using the inheritance means. So if you declare the any object, so all the constructors will be displayed. So we are calling the object of type Z. We are calling the object of type Z. That means class Z. So class Z constructor is this one. So this cannot be printed first. Why? Because if you call the Z means Z extends the properties of Y. Control goes to Y. So Y also extends the properties of X. Control goes to X. So X constructor will be displayed. Then Y displayed. Then Z displayed. So this is the constructor usage in the inheritance. Next, we have seen the method overriding. So in the previous unit, we have seen the method overloading. So overloading means the method name is same, signature is different. Method overriding means everything is same. That means method name is same, return type is same, parameter list also same. Then it can be known as method overriding. We have seen the so many examples. Then we have seen the binding. Then we have concept of binding. Binding means
skip చేసిన తర్వాత చెప్తారు సరే ఆ ఫోటో పెట్టు బాగుంది
so binding means we are going to give the some link between method declaration and method body. There is a link between method declaration and method body that is called binding. So we have two types of binding, static binding and dynamic binding. Static binding means compile time binding. Dynamic binding means runtime binding. So dynamic binding can be called as late binding. Dynamic method dispatch. We have discussed this one. Dynamic method dispatch. So dynamic method dispatch means we are going to achieve the runtime polymorphism. So runtime polymorphism. That means more than one forms. The class same method name can have different in different situations. We can use the different methods with the same name. So that is called polymorphism. So runtime polymorphism can be achieved by using the by using the reference variable of type superclass. We can achieve this by using the reference variable and a reference object, by creating the reference object of type super. So let us see this one. So here's generally we have created the objects, but in order to implement the runtime polymorphism, we are going to declare the object of type X. So X is a superclass here. X is a superclass. We have to declare an object and assign this object. Object X assigned to reference X. Object Y assigned to reference X. Object Z assigned to reference X. So then we can call the methods by using the reference X. Reference X dot display. Reference X dot display. So if you have the same object, means that can be done in the runtime. In the runtime, if you have the same object, means we can call these objects by using the runtime. So this is the dynamic method dispatch. And then we have seen the abstract classes and abstract methods. Already I have explained this one. Then I have explained some concepts of interfaces. So interface is nothing but interface declaration and interface implementation. Two concepts will be there. So interface means either it may be a constant values or a abstract methods. Either it may be constant values or abstract methods. So this we will see in the next unit, interface. So this is all about the third unit, arrays as well as interfaces. So any doubts regarding this? ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి ఇప్పటిదాకా? ఫస్ట్ యూనిట్, సెకండ్ యూనిట్, థర్డ్ యూనిట్. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా? సో ఇంటర్ఫేస్ టాపిక్ నెక్స్ట్ యూనిట్ మొత్తం ఇంటర్ఫేసెస్ గురించి ఉండేది. అది ఇంటర్ఫేసెస్ నెక్స్ట్ యూనిట్ లో చెప్తాను. ఎరేస్, ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ తర్వాత ఇంటర్ఫేస్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ వస్తుంది. సో ఆ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ అనేది నెక్స్ట్ యూనిట్ లో చెప్తాను. సో ఫస్ట్ మిడ్ దాకా ఇక్కడ దాకా ఉంటుంది, ఇంటర్ఫేసెస్ దాకా, అదే ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ దాకా ఉంటుంది. ఇంకేమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా? సో నెక్స్ట్ రేపటి నుంచి, మండే నుంచి స్టార్టింగ్ నుంచి ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ చెప్తాను. అంటే ప్యారలల్గా నేను ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ రన్ చేసి చూపిస్తాను. సో ప్రతి కాన్సెప్ట్కి ఎలా ప్రోగ్రామ్ రాయాలి ఏంటి అనేది నెక్స్ట్ వీక్లో చూద్దాం. సో ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ.